is an illusionist who blew away the judges and the audience when he hit the stage on America's Got Talent.
What are the first 3 digits of your PIN code, please?
363636.
Kind of like this. Yes?
Burn him!
But burn him. What is the movie that you are thinking of? Nice and loud.
Coming to America.
Because I put... I reckon it is going to be that object, okay?
Okay.
You can see this one. Open up your eyes. Tell us, what is the object you're thinking of?
Hairbrush?
Like this.
What?
Yes!
And I changed it! I changed it in my mind!
He is known as the real-life Sherlock Holmes! So how would you know that?
David Hasselhoff, picked at random.
Yeah.
What? Any celebrity, any seat, and yet, L3, take off your mask. David Hasselhoff!
Oh, please do me. I know we haven't got time to do it now, but can you just stay and do me?
That sounds like an offer I'm not going to get again, so absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, please go absolutely crazy and welcome to the stage, the one and only Colin Cloud.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone all around the world. That is the video that I play when I am running late from doing my hair to try and get ready to come and do a live chat. So first of all, this should now be streaming on StreamYard, where I can see we've got a bunch of people already in the waiting room who we're going to bring in and we're going to start chatting to. The reason that I wanted to use StreamYard for this is because it allows for me to actually speak to people face to face, as opposed to just being, talking to the camera and having questions come in. And this way, people that are watching how it works in the actual StreamYard function, you guys will see all the questions coming in down the side. Everyone on Facebook, type your questions and they will all come here as well. So those of you watching on Facebook Live through Luca Volpe's page, whatever you type there, there's like a 5 or 6 second delay, but there's nothing really. Type your questions there and we can very much bring them onto the screen, like Luca right here, who is already saying hello. So I can bring all your questions up on the screen like this. And also what I can do is bring people into the conversation who are on cameras, face-to-face, answer questions, and that way I just feel like it's way more interactive. So this is, as much about you making sure that for you get out of it what you want to get out of it. And we'll go from there. I'm just talking for a minute to let the numbers build up so that everyone hears how this works. But the link to join StreamYard will be available. And after I speak to the first 10 people, I will politely and kindly kick them out and we can bring in 10 more. So I don't want to waste any time. I'm going to try bringing in a couple of people. This is going to happen quite fast. So Matt, I can see you're already there. I'm going to give you like a bit of a heads up. Good morning, Matt. How are you, sir? Oh, Matt, can you hear us? Matt? I think we're having a slight microphone issue with Matt. Matt, can you hear us? We'll give Matt just a second to see if he... We'll come back to Matt. That's all good. I also love that we have a guy called Martin here. Who else do we have? Let's go for someone that I can see is definitely there. We've got David Peace. David.
Hey, how are you?
I'm wonderful, sir. I was panicking for a second there, thinking that for some reason StreamYard had finally, after weeks of using it for events everywhere, was finally now going to let me down. But no. Good morning, sir, or good evening. Where in the world are you?
I'm in Ireland, so it's the evening now. It's just gone 6.
Nice. How's life over there?
Good. It's wet today, but besides that, it doesn't really make a difference when you can't leave the house anyway. So
No, absolutely. I know we're all in the exact same boat, sir. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being guest number one. Obviously, I want this to be about answering your questions or like telling you whatever I can that might be of interest and or assistance to you in any way, shape, or form. So by all means, what would you? Yeah, ask away.
Yeah, I was wondering, when you're performing, you've been doing the show with Shin Lim recently. How do you kind of like make sure the show is structured in a way that you both get to shine and things like that? Because I do shows with another magician friend of mine, and it's trying to like balance out how much time each person gets and who gets to close which half, or depending on that.
Yeah. Well, put it this way: you need to bear in mind that with Shin Lim, I am basically standing on stage beside what the world has currently deemed, for the most part, the greatest magician in the world. And in my opinion, he is the greatest sleight of hand magician of our time. He was a guy, I knew Shin when he was 18. So we're going back like 10 years ago. We met in London. And I remember him being the guy at the convention who was doing all this weird stuff that at the time I'm like, well, that's angry. No one's ever going to do a full show with just that stuff. And then he goes on and takes over the world. I mean, we've always been friends, and it's always amazed me. But the world has just. I've never been a big fan of card tricks either. So this blows my mind. Like, I love Shin. He's like a brother to me, right? Shin is like, yeah, I love him to bits, and he's family. But card tricks have never been my thing. So the fact that the world have loved and consumed. Him as well, but the magic that he does, they love it, and it's the same paintbrush being used to paint a million different photos, and they're totally bought into it. So one thing that really helps me is that he is very much just that. He is just the cards. I am very much the mentalism, the comedy, the pen to his teller, essentially, we've jokingly said before. But the stuff we do is so different that it's not a case of anyone. I mean, he already shines because he is Shin Lim and he is just, hand on heart phenomenal. But I think then it was a case of at least he knew my work and knew I was capable of before we started. And he knew that it would at least, sit on his level, that we would complement each other whilst contrasting. So with Shin and I, it's not so much about the material as it is about the personalities. So for example, I open the show, he ends the first half. He opens the first half, we end the show together, So it's like, when he got the gig at the Mirage, I mean, he got that off the back of his, profile based on his amazing abilities. And he very kindly asked me to be a part of his show, which has become, I'm very kindly now the co-star of the show. But I feel like it's always, it's his decision. But the fact that he has trusted me to be in the show and play these pivotal roles throughout it, it's a very unique position. So I think with your show, I think if you can find ways to combine what it is you do as well and interesting dynamics and do things together so that there's never that sense of, oh, is it you or is it me? When I did the show, The Colour Hand, which was me, Kevin McMahon, Gavin Oates, we did a show together at Fringe for a few years. That was very much a sketch comedy show using the magic, the mentalism, and hypnotism as like a special effect. But the real secret was to find interesting ways of combining. So the audience should get to know you as individuals, but then I think it's like watching, so it's like going, cool, we've seen Thor, Iron Man, and the Hulk. Let's go watch the Avengers. It's like that way of everyone teaming up together and you get that combined result. And just because you're sitting thinking, well, we don't usually see magicians, on TV team up like that, like all the more reason to do it. The more you can be doing what other people aren't doing, I think the more interesting it is to an audience. And when we break these molds and these structures, these formula, the formats that people are used to, I think you can come up with amazing stuff. So I think my biggest takeaway would be genuinely try and find ways of combining stuff and come up with new routines where you both get to shine as much.
Yeah, I was thinking that I was actually watching your new downloads and the one with the envelopes. The way you did a two-person finale to a show was I really enjoyed that. I thought it was
the other big part of that, my best friend, he was the best man when I got married to Chloe recently, is Dave Gerard.
That was the other performer in my show. He was my best man recently.
Yeah, he's cheating on me. But yeah, he's just phenomenal, and we did a show together. So there was a tiny bit of the download that you're talking about, the Envision download, a tiny bit of, I had to be respectful of when I was doing stuff on other people's or with other people that I didn't want to give away their thing as well. But yeah, he's phenomenal. But the cover, to have that dual concept throughout, really helped to hide and develop that method. So yeah, I mean, I hope that kind of helps answer the question and gives you a better understanding. That show, by the way, David and I, throughout the show, we opened it together, we alternated, and then we ended together, because it's only 44 minutes in the Peller Theatre anyway. So it was like a good challenge. So yeah. But
because me and my friend Steve, he was my best man at my wedding, Steve, and we did a show at my wedding. So my wife insisted if she's marrying a magician, there has to be a trick during it, and it was our first time performing to like properly on stage together, and it was something we started doing more often now. So it's definitely fun to do.
Absolutely, man. Well, listen, thank you for your time. We can chat further about this, but I'm gonna free up one space right now. I'm gonna send you. You can watch this obviously from Facebook still. So we'll speak to you there. Thank you, David.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. So again, that's the space freed up. So basically only 10 people can be in here at once. But when I speak to a person, I will kindly kick them out, and then someone else can take that space. So you need to be quick, but we've got all day. So while we do that, Garish Taylor asks, mentally prepare for big shows, going from performing to a room of 300 to 1,000 to TV. Now, what I found is I did some close-up back when I was at university. I basically did like the same 5 routines over and over again. Well, I did 3 routines, and then when the group asked me back, I had 2 more. So I found that actually going from close-up to stage, that was like, for me, I used to get really bad stage fright. I realized the thing I hated most is the introduction to an audience. You get one chance to nail that intro, and if you don't nail it, then the next 10 minutes of close-up performing can be the most wonderful or the most stressful of your life, because you get one chance to nail that. On stage, you get one chance as well, but I feel like the odds are in your favor, because there's a certain perception and buy-in from the audience based on the fact that you're on that platform, so you must be good. So there's a little bit of trust there to begin with to get you up and running. So I now find, for example, going from 300 to 1,000, like, I don't really mind. I actually hate it the other way. When I get booked to do a corporate show for like 20 people in the afternoon of their big event, board meeting, and I go in to do 30 minutes for 20 people, I hate that, because I feel like everyone is watching me, like all eyes are on you. But if you give me like illusionist shows, some night we were playing stadiums of up to 8,000, which is insane to do magic and make people feel involved when it's 8,000 people. But that aside, the number of people, the more there are, the easier I find it. When it's TV is a mindset you just need to get into, and you need to just be fluid with it and realize when you're with a host of a TV show, they're always going to be like the clip I played at the beginning when I was on one of the morning shows in America. Those 2 females, I knew that they were just going to be chaotic. And regardless of what script, if I had prepared a beautiful script in my mind to try and deliver word perfectly, they were going to jump all over it, because their job, they're paid to inject energy and excitement and chaos into that show. So for TV, it's always an unknown variable. So I go into TV now a little bit looser than I did at the beginning. I don't put as much stress on myself with it. What I love is when you're doing TV and there's an audience. So actually AGT type stuff, or the Royal Variety stuff, where there's an audience, and that's for TV. That's like the dream type of TV, because that's me at my best. That's me interacting with people, the energy of the real audience, capturing that. Like that's what I love. So for me, whether it's 300 or 1,000, it doesn't matter. TV, again, if there's a live audience, then it's great. If there isn't a live audience, then you just make the most of it. But really, for me, if you can do close up, like, I envy you guys, because that's the thing that I still want to find. 3 or 4 new things that I do there that are just amazing. So that's like my answer to that question. And let's bring in someone else. We'll try Matt again. Matt now has his earphones. By the way, I can see everyone in the holding room, just so don't do anything crazy. But I'm going to add Matt from the very beginning. Matt, we still cannot hear you, Matt. This is, I'm checking your mic is unmuted. Do me a favor, Matt, in the private chat, all we get, because we're in the room, type your message in there and I will answer your question, and we'll have it on the screen so you can still smile and nod and wipe your nose accordingly. But I'll get back to you soon. Thank you. Right, let's bring in someone else. We have, I'm trying to do this in order, we have Anthony next. So Anthony, good morning.
Hi, Colin. Seen you a couple of times at Norwich and once somewhere else.
Norwich, by the way, is one of my favorite theatres in the world. It is amazing. It's like a 300-seater. For anyone who's never been in, you can Google an image of Norwich. But Norwich is like the dream size of theatre, I feel. The brickwork down the sides is amazing. Stage, the crew there are phenomenal. So I've loved performing in Norwich.
Yeah, the Playhouse does a lot for magic, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
One of your routines, not asking for the secret here, but there's one you do, which is the one where you toss a bit of paper out. Someone randomly in the audience has the coins in their hand. You ask them their change, and then, as you know, the kicker is at the end.
Yep.
Will you be teaching that in a workshop or something? Because I just so love that routine.
So you're very kind. So basically, I in my head have different like acts and shows, and I'm no Max Maven, right? Max Maven has got like a freaking trick for all occasions, and it's always like perfectly thought through. And Max is phenomenal at this. I take like 2 or 3 years to find. Well, I find a moment that I love, but it then takes me like 2 or 3 years to build that moment into what you've seen me do. So that specific thing that you are referring to is like currently something that's in like my working repertoire, like every other night at the Mirage. So that I won't be tipping for quite some time. But I mean, you know, what I am tipping more at the moment is the idea of like, here's the thing. That is my end result through a process. I went through a process. I came up with that thing, right? Now that I've done that thing, whether it's the Superman reveal, which for a while I like tried to not let magicians see because I thought I don't want anyone else doing this. And then eventually got to the point where it was like, right, if enough people have seen me do it now, I'm going to burn it somewhere. I'm going to make it, you know, finally the show that I had imagined myself performing it on to begin with Royal Variety was doing it there. So no, but what I'm teaching now or trying to teach on like the website that I set up are the processes that I go through in my head to get to those end results. So whilst, you know, I would really hope, you know, the same way I would respect someone else if I saw them do something that was amazing, I would kick myself and think, oh, why didn't I think of that? Like comedians, they watch each other. I'm surrounded by comedians all the time. And you can see that they're always thinking, why didn't I think that? But they then in their head don't then go, but I'm going to start doing it tomorrow. You know, that's not the mindset of the comedy performance, not the good ones who rise to fame. They don't do it, not unless they're buying material from that act, you know, like, you know, we've got comedy writers for things, but magicians for some reason feel like, you know, they've got this right and entitlement to see that and go, oh, cool, I own that and that, so therefore I can. So I respect even the way that you worded what you just said, that you didn't talk about it, and I'm sure now the tens of messages that you might get asking, what was that? Just don't keep them guessing. Tell them to come and see my show. But
no, it took 15 iterations to write my opener, so I quite understand where you're coming from. But I have bought the bundle, by the way, so I should be looking forward to the big thing on the, was it the 30th?
30th. What's on the 30th? Oh, yeah. Sorry, yes, absolutely, yeah.
Get that, people. Get that. Big deal at the moment. Get it now.
Thank you, Anthony. But yeah, but you see, like it takes you that long to write an opener, but how rewarding is it when you stand on that stage delivering your own work, right? It's a different, I think for me, when I'm delivering stuff that I know I came up with, it's a different experience. It's a completely different show. And I think the audience feel it. They feel authenticity. And if you're standing on stage trying to be Darren or Luc Germain or Pete Turner, heaven forbid, then it's like, you know, it's never going to be the same as it being you. And like, I think it took me years as a kid to learn to feel comfortable and confident doing it as me. And that, I think when you go over that hurdle of like, you're, you know, we're not like magicians in that you've got like not illusionists who can hide behind the props and the cool dancers. It's very much, it's you and them. You're very exposed. And I think when you go over that nerve, you know, I think you can tell because people go from performing things like a chair test, which is safe and doesn't feel invasive. The first time you then do like a center tear and you reveal a name and you see that interaction and that experience is a different game. And I think the confidence as a performer, the confidence in the content, the reveals, the story, the narrative, the more that you progress, the more interesting it becomes for you, for them. And yeah, what I'm trying to do at the moment is really just send people on the paths that I went on so that we use this time, which is, you know, an annoyingly frustrating hibernation period, but at least we're using it to be productive. So we as mentalists, magicians, whatever, come out the other side of this stronger and better. So hopefully, you know, more people will pick up on that and yeah, go from there. So yeah, the answer to the question is sorry, no, I won't be tipping.
That's fine. That's fine.
I won't be tipping the method, but I will be tipping the processes I use so that you can come up with your own stuff and you're able to do it yourself.
That's grand. Right. Well, I'll get out and get someone else in. I'll see you on the 30th.
See you there, Anthony.
Buy the bundle, folks.
Thank you kindly, you beautiful, beautiful man. We'll ask Anthony to leave, and we'll bring in Matt's question was here. Right. Okay, so I'm going to bring Matt on the screen, and if his audio works, great, and if it doesn't work, fine. But Matt's question is, I believe, how do you develop a show, and how do you choose what effect to put into the show, and how do you call back to certain effects later in the show? That's your question. Thumbs up, Matt? Yes. Yeah, we still can't hear you, but you can thumbs up and thumbs down. So, and you can nod accordingly. So don't worry. How do I choose what effects to put in a show? Right, I never choose what effects to put in a show. I think of the show that I want to do, and the show every year for Edinburgh for 10 years in a row, I had to write a brand new show. I learned after year 2, so year 1 was like the safe show. I did like 3 envelope tests. I did my version of this routine, my version of that routine. And it was like, okay, cool. So I can do the classics in my own way with my own presentation. But really, if I want to stand out, and that was like in a 60-seater theater at Just the Tonic, at the Caves, which is where my wife and I just got married. But so that place holds a lot of meaning to me. But that 60-seater show was very much my takes on the classics, which is like, cool, I've done that, tick that box, I've got that out of my system, now what? Then year 2 was like, how can I be as controversial as possible? And that became the not like to offend people, but like the material. How can it be as real as possible? Because at Edinburgh, you want to stand out, and the more controversial you are, the more attention you get, which when there are 4,000 shows a day, you need. So it's never about what tricks do I want to do in the show. It's always about what experience do I want the audience to have. That's like part number 1, is what do I want them to think and feel? And I wrote this the other day, is that I always imagine, what do I want the Yelp reviews or the Twitter reviews to say about the show? What did they what did they take away from it? I think we can now hear you, Matt. Say hello.
Hi, right?
Yeah, well, there's just a small delay, so you're there, but you are there. So feel free to now join in with what I'm saying, okay? But yeah, it's very much about what. For me, it's always like, what would Sherlock do in that environment? If Sherlock Holmes were real, and he were doing a 1-hour show all about the theme of, like, 1 year was all about the human psyche, the human condition, and exposing that. And what would Sherlock do with that? And how would he? So I more think about that. And I say Sherlock because that then leads me to think, okay, so what would then Colin Cloud I do with that? And it leads to that train of thought. But it's never about what tricks. It's always about what feeling, what experience, what have they never seen before? And then when I get those points on the map, it's then very easy to then go, cool, what types of methods allow for those types of affects to be achieved? So it's very much in that order. It's never about, like, you know, I don't go, cool, double cross, French kiss, invisible deck, right, what can I do? What show can I do with that? It's never that. And I think, you know, so many good performers now do talk about this, but like before I was even listening to hear them say variations of this, it was always that. It was always, I was aware of Edinburgh, I was aware of reviewers and everyone getting on social media and being a reviewer. So it was very much a case of me having to think, I want them coming out. Line 1 of their review says, I love the show, or best show ever, because in it, he did this, and in it, this happened, and in it, he made us think like this. And when you start putting that constructive pressure on yourself, I think you start to come up with really good answers for how you would solve those situations, those questions, those challenges. And then you can find the effects that match it, you know? And if it ends up being that a version of Invisible Deck is the answer, then great, then go do that and make it amazing. But don't start with that and then use that to get to the end point. Otherwise, you're just limiting your character development right off the bat. So does that kind of help answer that?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
I think with regards to going back to effects, like, I don't think I do loads of callbacks. I always try and find ways of doing shows where it doesn't end with a prediction as well. That was like a good challenge, was to how can I end a show with something that still involves everyone, but it isn't a prediction. And, you know, that is like, it's not an effect, but it's almost an anti-effect. It's almost like, what effect do I definitely not want to do? And I use that more as a limitation to instead of deciding what effects I will do, I sometimes decide what effects will I not do. And then that then leads to interesting, thoughts and ideas as well. So yeah, but I think it's very much a case of don't think about the effects, think about the affects. And it's like, what do you want them thinking, feeling? Like one year the show was all about, it was called Psycho brackets Logical. And it was like a horror show built into the idea of like, a mentalism show. And if Sherlock were part of that, what would that be like? And then following that line of thinking, and it was all about fear, and the emotion was about not just making people laugh that I normally aim for, but making people like scared and jump, and so I think thinking like that will be more interesting than thinking about just the effects. You'll find that the effects are easy, the methods are there. Go buy Barry Richardson's books, you'll find the best methods, and you're sorted. But think about what it is you want them to think and feel, and then you're off and running. So Matt, I hope that kind of answers the question. You've got a few seconds delay, but is that all good?
Yeah.
Perfect,
Yeah, that's all good, guys. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for bearing with
Take care, bye.
And speak soon, Matt. Thanks, buddy.
All right, don't worry about it. Take care, bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, we're going to jump straight to Chris, who's rubbing his chin. Chris,
hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it.
No, not at all. I'm also skimming through the other questions and stuff as well. So I don't even think I'm not paying attention. I'm fully paying attention. I just want to make sure that everyone over here on Facebook is saying hey also. So tell us, Chris, what can I answer for you?
So I was wondering about how you go about maximizing reactions, because a lot of the time when we're doing stuff, we're revealing a thought, whatever that thought might be, it's a name or whatever. How do you go about making sure that the reactions for the, like, if you're performing for a group or an audience or that person on stage, like how do you go about making sure you get the most out of that moment?
Yeah.
That's the punch.
Yeah, people that have seen me in Vegas, people that have seen the footage, the real world footage on the downloads that I put out, I'm not trying to sell them. I'm just going to say that the footage or the show that you'll see me do, I am now not shy to training an audience early on how to respond.
Okay.
Like, and telling them, give it up for Susan. Like telling them it's okay to clap here, right? And I do that early on to condition the audience to clap, to applaud. Here's the thing: I'm also comfortable on stage. When it's an intimate show, I'm comfortable being on stage and not asking for that. Like when I spoke about doing events for 20 people earlier, it'd be weird if for 20 people I went, and let's all give Susan a freaking standing ovation. It'd be like the most uncomfortable thing ever. Like in those situations, it's a very different, I think, environment for mentalism. And I think when it's intimate like that, you can sit in those moments. You can allow it to just be strong and powerful. You can let it, you don't step on it immediately. Let it be amazing for these people because they've never seen it like this close up before. So let it be its own thing. Like, don't feel you need to do that. The reason I do it when we have 1,000 people is that I need to connect 1,000 people in the room. And yeah, I can do it with that moment, but everyone comes out of that moment at a slightly different time. And what I don't want to have happen with 1,000 people is that I'm like, and was the name you were thinking of, Keith? And they're like, yeah. And everyone's like, oh. But then I don't have control over like bringing it back together. When I'm on a stage for more than like 50 people, I look at myself as being the conductor for that audience. And I'm essentially, what I hate are theaters where there's like massive aisles for people to, I look at every different section of an audience as being like its own entity. It's weird that when you put an aisle in a room, it separates the audience, right? It's this weird dynamic. And I found that, the best way to get people together is to keep it moving, be in control of it, and allow everyone to be connected. So comedy is a big thing that helps me to do that, to glue everyone. And then I want to stay in control of that. And if I let everyone sit in all those moments, which is really the right thing to do for like intimate magic and mentalism, you don't come and step on it with like a whatever. But when it's like that, if I don't keep a hold of the reins and keep it moving, then it can get a little bit studded for the audience. So for me, it's very much about, telling them and teaching them it's okay to clap. It's okay to applaud. We want you to do it early on so that they just become like comfortable doing these things, and then they take over and they don't need to be conditioned as much anymore. So yeah, I'm not trying to doing that. Like, tell these people, it's the first person I saw do it well was John Archer. He had he's got a few different versions of that was not a great intro, so we're going to do it again, and this time we're going to, and he just teaches the audience And it's not, it can be one of two things. It can be awkward, cringy, and desperate, or it can be fun, playful, and done in such a stealth way where you're just like, give it up for Susan. Or this Susan, by the way, is yeah, she's Justin Wilson as well. She's getting used for a lot of magic at the moment. But the point is that if you can do it in a way where you're teaching the audience, that is the call to response. If that's what you're also, by the way, I've seen other performers who are phenomenal actively encourage no response and no applause because they for them they're good enough that they don't without naming names because it's their thing to talk about if they ever choose to. They're good enough that they don't need to stand on that anyway. And I saw these performers when they were comedy performers, and they were some of the funniest people I've ever seen. And now they just have gone, yeah, I don't need that anymore. That's not what I'm trying to achieve. And they've decided I'm going to do the opposite. And good for them. It's amazing. But for me, when it's that many people, I think I shine more with the comedy anyway, and for that I want to keep it moving. I want to be in control, and yeah, I think teaching the audience is the key.
So when in your little show reel before it was playing, there was a couple of I can't remember what the effect was for the TV or whatever, but it was you showed what someone next to you said, this is what I think she's going for. I think it's hairbrush. And then you let the audience see that, and then you let her come in on that. So when do you decide to do that? When do you decide to like divide the audience? And
so I think throughout a show, and I talk about this in one of the downloads, but I'll give you like the main thing you're asking right here, right? But there are different ways to reveal information dynamically through a show, whether it's just verbally. I'd be like, Chris, are you thinking of the word donkey? And you're like, yeah. Everyone else needs to believe based on your reaction that you were. Now, when you're doing a Q&A, blindfolded, Gil Eagles style, then that en masse works as the dynamic because enough people are being used that that they are not in on it. So it's like, it makes sense, But when you're working to a live audience, a large audience rather, if you're, you want to write something down and be able to show it to everyone else so that they are aware of that thing. So that when you get it, everything clicks into place. You're not relying on that person's reaction. The audience are more reacting to you having written what they say before they say it, as opposed to them just agreeing that you were right. So I think considering different ways of or you could write it, not show it, and then show it, so there's different ways, even using a notepad to share information. So yeah, on that dynamic, I just knew that guy 30 seconds before had seen Shin Lim do Card for Mouth. He was already hyper, so I actively put my hand on his shoulder to calm him down. And also he was in Saved by the Bell, and I still get really excited that I meet these people who I grew up watching. It's insane. And I'm just like, can you see it? Because I just know that putting your hand on someone's shoulder and bringing them in, just even because so much of mentalism is about one person and extracting or implanting something. And I think the more we can find ways to make it play bigger and be more visual like that, it's a simple thing. But yeah, I just think it really helps the audience to get on board.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, thank you for taking time. Like you say, I bought your Opening Minds DVD set when it first came out. So I've been watching for a while.
Yeah.
Great to talk to you like this.
Thanks, Chris. Really appreciate your time, buddy. Okay.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Right.
So we're going to ask Chris now to leave, so there's now a space opened up for those of you watching. I'm going to just, before I bring someone else in, so Nathan asks here, how do you not make the call to response look desperate that I just mentioned? Again, John Archer does this, right? And John is the person I saw do it first. Other people have versions of it, and they make it hilarious. They make it fun. They make it almost tongue-in-cheek or sarcastic, or don't just, if you're just standing there going, throughout the show, I'm expecting you guys to laugh, clap, and be amazed. Are we all clear on that? If you're the annoying supply teacher who comes into school for a day, then no one's going to buy into that. But if you're just if you're authentic and if you're having fun, they're having fun. So just don't make it weird. You just want to subtle things and yeah, if this works, then she did amazing. So give her send her loads of love and blah 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 blah. Put it on the other person as well. And then that way it's not you asking for applause for you, it's you asking for applause for them, but it still gets them in the mindset of, oh, it's okay for us to clap. if that's what you want to achieve. Which, I'll be honest, in my show, like, yeah, I do. I want people to be, I want the energy up, I want clapping, I want laughter, I want noise, because it just adds to that experience. So someone else says, why the stage name? It's so that people that search for my products that I sell don't find me immediately. I just wanted to have enough of a distance that clients that were already using me 10 years ago wouldn't then see, why is the name Colin Cloud now? And find that weird. It was just because Alakazam had just put out the DVDs, and I didn't want it to be the same, but not too far away that it was different. So that was the reason. Let's bring in someone else. Nigel, I seem to be speaking to you loads these days. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, man. I'm good. I went to bed at 5 and I got back up for phone calls at 9, so I'm tired. Today's my wife's birthday.
I bet you are. Did you have Cocoa Pops again, sir?
No, I have not eaten anything yet. Today's my wife's birthday, so after this, I'm gonna go get. Yeah, you can. Yeah, everyone watching, if you want to send Chloe a message on Instagram, then yeah, wish her happy birthday. Go crazy. And if not, all good. But after this,
congratulations on the wedding as well.
Congratulations on the
wedding, sir.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it seems like years ago, but also yesterday, all at the same time. So it's been a mad few months. It's been crazy. But yeah, how can I best answer or talk about whatever you want me to talk about today?
Okay, so I'll keep it short, really. So as myself, I'm a full-time teacher professionally, and I'm very interested in having sort of the last year or so started performing on stage as a mentalist, sort of migrated from being sort of close to magic. And my mentor has been Rob Zabrecki over the last couple of years. So I'm really interested in character and scripting. And so my question to you as a mentalist, and I'm very intrigued with the psych artist that you're doing at the moment and the one-to-one consultancy. So I was thinking, if I was to sign up to that, what would you be offering somebody like me or anyone else who wanted to sort of investigate and make a transition, you know, from the day job to potentially looking for an alternative career?
Yeah, so I mean, the consultancy thing is literally, in the past, I have been brought in to spend like weeks, weekends, days, months, or ongoing with other performers to look at their show, to develop, right, you can be, right, consultancy and coming up with tricks for someone are two different things. I think a consultancy is where I take all of my experience. It's not just me it's not you saying, hey, I want to end up with a routine where, you know, they think of a guitar and I make a guitar appear. That is someone coming up with a trick for you. And that's great and that's doable. The consultancy that I've done for people and that I think I'm good at is coming in and before like I even start, I FaceTime with the people. Before I've like flown to LA before to do stuff, it's like, cool, we FaceTime for a week and I'm like, what do you want to achieve? What is the show trying to, what do they want the show to be? What do you want to achieve? And it's literally dissecting and understanding, first of all, the individual. And my background genuinely is in profiling. So I love getting into the mindset. This is the bullshit aside. I love being able to get in the mindset of people. And that was my training, was that side of things. So I love being able to fully understand what someone's vision, their passion, what makes them feel fulfilled, their goals are, their hate, and taking all that in and recalibrating like my computer in my head to go, cool, with that person's mindset towards this, plus my knowledge and understanding and experience, etc., what, like a computer at that point, what do I then come out with for that person that best suits that scenario? So it's a combination of all that stuff, being inside that person's mind, essentially, as best I can be, to then come up with and fine-tune. Like, as we've gone along, maybe I've said something and the performer in question has gone, I don't like it. And I'll be like, great, tell me why you don't like it. And understanding why they dislike something helps to really fine-tune, you know, that laser, so that, you know, we're on the same page, on the same frequency, and what I'm giving them, what I'm writing, whether it's the stories, the jokes, the narrative, the suggestions on how the set should look, because I've now done that enough as well. I'm not an expert in it, but I've done it enough that I know what adds and what detracts from a performance. Computing all of that information and then giving an output. So it might be that someone's like, look, my 5-minute walk-up, close-up set at cocktail parties, I want that to be like perfect. I want to have 3 of them so that I can alternate throughout the night. what do I do? And it would be the same thing. It would be all my experience, my knowledge, understanding them, and then bringing, you know, the output. But what I am also trying to do, so as much as you can, like, you know, if you want to invest in that, you can. But what I'm trying to do at the same time is give away the essays on Psych Artist that start the processes. So either you take that and you start implementing it and find it for yourself. And like with everything going on at the moment, like not everyone can afford consultancy at the moment. It's maybe not the best thing to be spending, you know, thousands of dollars on, whether it's me or anyone at the moment, any director right now. Maybe it is. Maybe you're going, do you know what? I am going to invest that money because when we get out of the situation in 6 months, I want to be ready. And there's two ways to do that.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, actually, because there's a lot of time, a lot of downtime, you know, and I thought this was the ideal opportunity to use that. And obviously you've been imparting your knowledge, and I've been doing that myself, working on an act. So by the time when this settles, because I got to the point where I felt comfortable when I was on stage with my persona, Mr. Quinn, and then all of a sudden, you know, we can't perform on stage. So I don't have a stage, and I'm on, as a teacher, I am more or less performing every day in front of students, as it were. So I kind of miss that opportunity. But yeah, I'm certainly up for the opportunity. And, you know, if it's a case of, would you look at recorded performances? Could you feedback on that?
Oh yeah, when I've done this before with people, the first thing that we do before we even chat is that I get at least 3 versions of what it is. Well, if you have it available.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And even by the way, even if those performances are just you standing in your living room, like going through the motions and explaining at this point, because I want to best be able to visualize and fully understand. And, you know, what it is.
No, I only asked because I've got a studio that I work at. I teach media, film, TV, and visual effects. So I have the space to do that, where I've been doing rehearsals.
Amazing.
And then I went to an improv, the London Improv Theatre, where we were working with other magicians. It was actually a comedy sort of open mic night for magicians. Anyway, I digress, but I really appreciate your time, Colin, and hopefully
but like I said, I'm still gonna try and continue putting out these essays every other day. Just this week with Chloe's birthday, it's been a little bit harder to find time to write and stuff as well. But I will be putting those out, like, and trying my best to make this time beneficial.
Honestly, they've been brilliant. Thank you very much for your time again.
Thank you, buddy. Take care. Let's speak soon. Bye. And let's just keep moving. Let's bring in. Oh, Luca Volpe is here. Let's just speak to the man himself.
Hello, my friend. All good. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much. We had a lot of people asking about you, so finally we did it. And
everyone thank Luca for doing all this stuff, because this stuff, by the way, you people think, you know, that for them, right? There's loads of streaming things. There are loads of streaming events in Magic happening right now, which is great. Yeah. But with the saturation, people don't get that because of lots doesn't make it any less hard for the guy still organizing it. So, you know, well done you for doing this and building this, and, you know, things like this right now. Things like this have always been important, but, you know, now more so than ever for people in the world to still feel like they can connect and belong and, you know, have purpose, and just for whatever it is, not just magic. If it is magic, for me it is, it's mentalism. But whatever
I try to bring all the mentalism community together, you know, from when we did the virtual mentalism convention, and then I bring everyone in the group and give it some time to the people at home without doing anything. And this is all knowledge, because I always say we need to expand our knowledge and try to learn from the people that know more than us, you know, and we can work in this time on ourselves. So I think it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that during this period, like for the first 2 days, like I'll be honest and tell you, I came home from tour. We were on tour with Shin. We were out there ready to the shows, and they all got cancelled. And I came back and I sat on the sofa for like 2 days. Like, depressed is a big word, and I think if you're going to use it, you know, it's not a bad word, but when it really is that, then you could save it for that. I was really down and like just a bit lost, I think is more accurate than I was lost, and I felt stranded, and I was like, what am I going to do with this time? Because like I don't know how to now not do what I have always done before. And it's like, well, how can I now do the opposite and like be thriving on this stuff? How can I try and get back? So the releases were meant to be coming out, you know, I'd spoken with Penguin, and that all so that all failed, and it was just like, oh my God, nothing's happening. It was like, so 2 things. One, you can be, you know, allow yourself to become a full-on victim of this and let it consume you, where you can control, use this time to, number one, stay positive, and two, decide what you want to get out of this to feel fulfilled. And every day, you know, do your best to chip away at that and stay on that ball and keep it moving, so that, and again, I said it to Nigel, when we come out at the other side of this, you're ready, you're stronger, and you hit the ground running with something the world has never seen before, you know. And that's, if everyone can be in, this is like, for Magic, this is a great chance to now really kick it up a level and really evolve it, rather than be stuck in the same patterns, essentially. We can now use this time to really pause and go, right, I've always done that because it worked, but that's not mine, that's someone else. What would I want to do now? You know, to really come out at the other side of this, something that is very you, is, I think, potentially very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. But then you did this release, come up with this release, thankfully, because now all the people finally can get a piece of your mind, because you've been so busy in this period that, you know, we were waiting some of your release, because you don't do much, really. You don't do many released.
I mean, I could show you my bookshelf over here, and it's full of, I love a nice, I'm sure you do, or people will, a moleskin notepad. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have it. I write all my ideas on top, and it's still out there. You know, I publish, you know how many books I've done, but still some ideas there anyway.
So I am always creating, but I am also always performing the same 5 routines every night. Because now when I get, like, with Illusionist, I toured, and I started with 2, and they got better. And then they said, can you now do a 3rd act? And I took one of my other routines, made it, when I say illusionist friendly, I mean I made it play big, visual, fast, funny, engaging. So I put my illusionist, you know, paintbrush on it and made it. So then I had a 3rd, and then they said, can we now change that for another? So I have now developed routines. So when Shin asked me to join him in the Mirage, he was like, I would love you to do that one, that one, that one, and that one. And I was like, fine. And then we got up and running. And then I said, can I now change those 2? And he's like, yeah. As long as, and he's like, I know they're going to be good, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, then cool. And it's great that we now have, he trusts me that, you know, he knows I'm not a freaking idiot. And he knows if I say I'm going to do something, it's going to be, you know, at least that level. Or he knows that after 3 shows, it will be at that level, you know, because sometimes the position in the show of a routine can massively change the dynamic of it. Like if I do
the flow,
if I do a routine right after Shin does Dream Act, in my opinion, that's his best act, and the audience feel it. And that's the one that they saw him do first on Penn and Teller. So now the version of that he does, when they've seen the new version, it's like, oh my God, he did that. But he is like seeing a singer sing your favorite song, but then changing bits of it so that you, so you see. So if I go on after that routine, if I do something that I know is normally good as an opener and I do it there, it's like, it's now a very different vibe in the room. So you need to just be aware of that as well.
Exactly.
We have that trust. But so I have those routines. I always write. And like I said to Nigel again there, now when I get asked to consult with people and they say, we need a routine that's this type of thing, I go to the notebooks and say, cool, what about this type of, and I have notebooks with effect ideas, with story ideas, with method ideas, and I connect them. It's like, you know, the toy that a kid would get where you spin and change the clothing of the cat.
Yeah, it's like you can blend everything together and try and make something new, really, taking different ideas. Yeah, exactly.
So that's now what that bookcase has become, is this this array of techniques. And yeah, what I've just released, of course, are routines that, like, people like, of the routines out there, my favorite one, the one that I still probably do most, is the sneak thief routine. Which is,
and the coin too. You do the coin very, you know, that's make you know, especially that routine one.
But when I do, so I say sneak thief, really it's desire. Max Maven was the guy that really, I mean, Alman had doodles where you guess, and obviously pseudo psychometry going back, well, psychometry going back to Animan. But Maven was the guy who put that finishing touch on it. And like when I saw that, it was like, oh, this is it. This is all you need. So then when I came up, so my handling, when I do stuff close up for people, it is pretty much still the one thing that I still do. I love it. And and it's funny because I even did the envelope on the video with Shin Lim when we went, Chloe and I went for dinner.
I saw the video.
it was the one where I didn't have any close-up footage of it, and I would have felt bad saying it's a close-up thing without showing the close-up. So we just went there, and I just said, hey, I want to show you this. And he'd never seen it before. And what I cut out from the video is he then said, could we put this in the show? Like, could we? And he loved it. So it's funny. But yeah, I mean, I love coming up with stuff. I love buying methods because it always makes me again go, oh, why didn't I think of that? But the good thing about method is if you buy a method, you can do it. But what's harder for me to come up with are good presentations, and that's the thing that I hold on to more frequently. But I do love buying stuff, but I also love trying to give away for free the processes, because I'll never forget when I saw Azzy Wind solve 2 Rubik's Cubes in either hand, looking up at the ceiling. That is one of the most stunning moments in all of my career. Not only because Azzy is amazing, not only because that routine is phenomenal, but I love the fact that no one in that room was able to go home and start doing it the next day. It was like, that took effort. But he got a standing ovation from it, from a room full of mentalists, because we inherently appreciate the time. Not only is it amazing, but the skill level.
But the effort and the skill, yeah.
It's everything all at once. And yeah, I just feel like it's having those moments. They're hard. It's not easy to come up with them. But when you do, it is the best.
But that's what I always say, to people when they prepare a show and stuff, because most of the people, they tend to copy someone. They say, oh, I like that things, let me do it. They do exactly the same. Or they read from a book and they do exactly the same. Yeah. And I think that, for example, the download you did, I personally have the coin routine, which that was the moment, say, why I didn't thought about it, to connect everything. And I change it, I make it mine, now I have in my show, and I do my own routine with that, with the basic concept. But that's the point, the routine or the download of the books, this should be as a,
here's the
helping
thing.
You to. Yeah.
If someone is already a competent performer, if they're good on stage, then I think they should go out and immediately do their version of it and try it and work that up. However, if someone is newer to this, if for the first couple of shows, they do exactly what they've seen me do on the download, or they do exactly how Osterland or Banachek or Pete Turner does it. If they do that to get used to the thing, whatever it is, if you do that to get comfortable with it,
that's fine.
Then I think after a couple of shows, you then understand the routine enough. Start being you, because if you just keep being whoever,
that's the point. Exactly.
It's just like, where's the fun in that? Like, I don't know. I do think if you're being paid to perform, then you do have a little responsibility to have at least put some thought behind the methods that you've bought. You should really think about how you glue those together. I think that's really
that's the point. We buy methods, not presentation.
Exactly.
That's the point.
And when I did opening minds, I didn't put any presentations on there, because back then I only had maybe 3 good ones, and I wasn't ready to give those away yet. So people, when they saw me live, were like, oh, you're better live than you were on those DVDs. And I'm like,
so, well, the structural DVD.
I'm relieved. I would rather you say that than, you're much worse than you were on those DVDs, but yeah. And I know that some people hear me say it, and I'm really big on it. I'm really big on the idea of being like original. And I really push myself to like try and I've got 5 routines that I'm now very, very happy with that I do on a nightly basis. And I feel like those are now different enough. I'll need to make some big changes because of this virus and because of now human interaction and stuff. I'm going to have to make changes, but that's exciting. It's like, if ever I needed a kick up the ass to come up with something new,
that's the moment. Yeah.
So great. So yeah. And I get that people watch me say this and they're like, well, yeah, easy for you to say because you've been doing it this long or whatever, or you're creative and I'm not creative, right? Everyone's creative, right? You can pick up a crayon right now and you can draw something. Will it be a perfect picture of how you look? Maybe not. maybe yes. But whatever it is you draw, there's no right or wrong. It's just that is your exactly. The more you practice drawing it, the more you'll either refine the Picasso awkward craziness, or you'll become, you know, the beautiful portrait illustrator who can just nail it but you'll find the way that you want to go. And until you at least start trying, you'll never know. If you sit there and decide, if you decide right now, I can't do it, then cool, you've made your choice and you never will. If you sit down and just start writing, like, cool, I love this trick where the method is someone writes on a bit of paper, I tear it up and I know the thing. Cool. What is it they write down? Why would someone care? What would my character want people to think about? How would my character know that? How would they apparently reveal it? What is the thing? I think when you at least give yourself the chance to take those methods that you're already comfortable with. I will say, when I change either now method or routine, I do it step by step. So when I'm changing a method, I keep a presentation that I know. I keep that presentation and I try the new method with that presentation because I know the presentation. Because I don't need to think about the method. I don't need to think about the presentation. I'm only thinking about the method. And when I change the presentation, I do a method that I'm comfortable with. And then when both are new, they click together. And then now when I'm on stage, the 5 things that I'm talking about, at no point, unless something's going wrong, at no point am I thinking about the method or the presentation. That is on it's not autopilot as in I'm pressing play. I know that they'll take care of themselves. But what it means is the rest of my attention is focusing on everyone. What's happening in the room? You know, if it's a corporate event, if 3 waiters come in and start, you know, pouring drinks, what am I going to say about that without, you know, embarrassing anyone? I want, if you could really read minds, if you were really this hyper aware human being like Sherlock Holmes is, you would pick up on this stuff. You would address it. You would, you know, so you want to be so comfortable in your...
And you're aware of everything,
Exactly. Like, 100%. So you just want to be, you know, on stage having fun, because the more fun, the more relaxed. And again, that side of it, yes, that does come from experience. I get that. But if you sit at home and don't even give yourself the chance, like I write for 2 hours a day. I go on the treadmill for an hour a day and exercise for another 30-40 minutes a day at the moment because gyms are closed and I'm trying to
do exactly the same. I do yoga in the morning and fitness in the evening just to move a little bit.
And tomorrow's podcast is live yoga with Luca Volpe.
Exactly, but I will put my sexy red
but it does. You've got the great name for it, you know, Luca Volpe's Journey to Happiness, and it's that's the thing. Yeah. But no, it's like I did this when I was on tour with The Illusionist. Year 1 with Illusionist, I was on tour, living the dream, exciting shows every night, like out occasionally when we did a week somewhere, you'd go out and there'd be a launch party, there would be all that side of it that the novelty wears off of quickly. But year 1, I finished and I was like, cool, what did I achieve this year? Okay, I made money doing mentalism. And it was like, do you know what? That's great. I get paid for doing the thing that I love. But what else? What about all that other time on the road? And then you go back out and I'm like, cool, this time I'm going to make sure that I exercise at least 1 hour a day and I write at least 1 hour a day. So year 2, by the end of the tour, I also had gotten fitter and I had all this content. Then the next year it was like, cool, I exercise 2 hours a day and I write for 2 hours a day. And it grew and grew. So I try and keep that attitude so that not only like this time, you can use this time right now to watch everything on Netflix and eat all the pizza. And you know what? See, some nights, Chloe and I, we watch all the Netflix and we eat all the pizza because it's okay to do that. But other times, I want to make sure that when I come out of this, that I am just stronger as a human being, you know, physically, mentally.
Absolutely. No, 100% I agree with you. Absolutely.
And I just think everyone, you know, if you want, we all deal with this in different ways, but I just think, you know, now is the time to, there's loads we can still be doing to better ourselves. So, so I'm trying to share where I can and what I can and just try and give something back to the industry that's now given me so much and like try and do things like this. But so hopefully there's some benefit to someone somewhere and, you know, But I I shall keep taking questions from other individuals.
Perfect. Thank you, Colin. And we will leave all the links anyway after it. And
oh yeah,
also
No, absolutely. So thank you, sir. I'll speak soon. Let's bring in Kanan. Hello, sir.
Hey, Colin.
How are you?
I'm good. Shout out from India.
That was very professional, unmuting your microphone there. You are on the ball, my friend. I'm impressed. How are you doing?
Been doing a lot of Zoom shows, so I'm used to that.
Yeah, I am very much the same. It's great that this is a thing as well, and learning how to perform across the internet is a brand new challenge. And it took me a few days to get my head around how do I make it feel like me. Like, I don't just want to sit here and do things that I feel are too standard in a stand. It's like, how can I really still have impact, and how can I still really, like, my strength on stage, I think I said it earlier, is engaging and connecting everyone. So I still wanted to have that.
Yeah, I've been watching your Instagram shows lately, and I really like the content you bring in.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really still trying to be the guy who can still read minds, not just the guy who predicts stuff over and over again, which methodologically can be a little bit easier, of course. But yeah. So ask away. What can I answer?
So
for you?
So what I wanted to ask you is, so I got started in mentalism with one of your DVDs as well, Opening Minds.
Oh, amazing!
Like everyone, yeah. So what I wanted to ask you is, I've seen you grow from who you were back then, and now you're an incredible performer. So what I want to ask you was, how do you go about? Can you give a little bit of insight into how do you go about writing your show, and how do you go about bringing out new materials out there, and what's your thought process into it?
So one is, I think you need to be comfortable as a performer, because until you can paint a picture, you need to build the freaking paintbrush, right? And if you're the paintbrush, you need to be solid and defined. Decide what type of paintbrush are you going to be. Are you going to be like a fine detail, or are you going to be like a big, cover the entire wall? So when you decide who you are, then I think you can decide what it is you're then going to go on. I mentioned earlier, and like paint and draw. So number one for me was deciding on my character. As a kid, I genuinely was shy, reserved, quiet. I hated the idea of even giving a talk in English when you would have to stand in front of the class. Like, I would get nightmares and like feel sick, the idea of talking to people. Like, it was horrific. So the change, I've said this somewhere before. I remember being at the Blackpool Magic Convention, and one of the guys in the close-up competition said, of confidence, fake it until it's real. Like, pretend you're confident, not arrogant, not cocky, not an asshole. Pretend you're confident until it's real. And then when you start pretending, your body, your mind realizes, oh, actually, number one, it's not that bad. And number two, the more relaxed you are, the better performing you do. Simple as that. So I had to learn to relax and be comfortable talking, first of all. And then the next level was, okay, I'm quiet and shy, but I don't want to be. What would I ideally want to be? And I knew that, like, I love comedy. Comedy is my number one thing in the world. Like, I just love it and admire how honest it is. But what I mean by that is that you're sharing apparent truths with the audience to connect with them. And you're not hiding behind anything other than the mic. I love that. Whereas with mentalism, even though it's the most pure form of magic, in my opinion, because again, it's you and them, you're still connecting through deception, which they know that that's the case. So there's like an agreement there. But I definitely feel like comedy just has that edge for me, where it's like, that is always going to be number one. I just appreciate it and value it and wish, I'm told I'm funny on stage, but that's because I think I'm good at bringing out the best in other people and letting us and our interaction. I learned from Jeff Hobson and David Williamson in The Illusionist. David Williamson performs Rocky Raccoon, a routine with kids. Hobson performs the Egg Bag, a routine with a female on stage and then some guys in the audience. And I realized the simpler the routine, the simpler whatever the demonstration is, the more you can just engage and interact with people. And, you watch hypnotists, and the thing that we love about a hypnotism show is the people on stage shine. And they are the real stars, And it's then a case of going, well, how do we then make the people in our show be stars of it, not just be the props within it? So I think, like, for me, it was a case of going, right, I want to then find ways of interacting with people where they're able to be themselves on stage, so that we can then really examine like those human traits. So I wanted to then develop material that would fit that. Then I got into the sketch comedy world when I was younger with the group The Colour Ham with Gavin Oates. Gavin Oates is, he was the guy who, we met at an event where he was speaking as a motivational speaker. That company, at the time, his boss, the owner of the company, had seen me do a show at a hotel and said, we're looking for one more speaker. Will you join our company? That, for me, joining that company and then being around Gavin Oates every day is the thing that turned me into, set me well on the path to being the performer I am now. Because without Gavin's input, showing me how to behave and act and control an audience and the dynamic of it through calmness and facial expressions and looks and gestures and ad-libbing and quick wit, like, I would never have gotten on the path that I am now. So one, it's who you surround yourself with. And, you know, you can go out and you can be in comedy clubs if that's your thing. If you want to do more poetry, you can go out and be in poetry groups, or, you know, reading. If you want to learn to tell a great story, then go to like story writing groups and learn how to really do that. So yeah, being around these people. And then Kevin was great already at being on stage as a magician. As well. He was a comfortable performer at being manic and chaotic, which isn't my style, but I love that he knew his style, and it was that. So between those two, being on stage with them, I very much learned how to find my place in the world. And by not being able to just copy being Gavin anymore, or copy Kevin being the magician anymore, his take on the standard magician, almost, you know, self-inflictingly, jokingly playing the part of the magician, by realizing I can't copy Gavin because we already have that on stage, and we already have the magician. I need to find me. I was safe because those two performers were there as well, but it allowed me to then just find my own on stage. And, you know, the more I performed with them, the more I was able to then break away from, you know, what I thought I had to be into what I wanted to be, and then use that to further fine tune. And then that led obviously to the three of us going our separate ways. Kevin is now a phenomenal performer still in his own right. He now performs under the name Kevin Quantum. Gavin has now written 3 books for the general public, all about mindset and motivation. And so you can type in Gavin Oates and you'll find all of his books there. They're phenomenal reads. And as far as self-help books go, these are books that are written not in like a Tony Robbins type of way. These are written in a, you know, you were chatting to your friend at the pub kind of way, and you're like, they're just so well written. But I think, you know, just to bring it full circle, it's about you being comfortable being whoever you want to be. And yeah, that's a big part of it. And, you know, and then I've been very lucky that I've spent time with Ken Weber, who has directed so many things and written the book on directing things, who introduced me to David Gerard, who, you know, I mentioned him earlier, my best friend on the planet, and his attention to detail is phenomenal. So I think having these people around you who can give you feedback, constructive feedback, but from a good place, just helps you really. You could do it on your own. I don't doubt any one of us could do it on our own. It would just take a long time. But surround yourself with these people and these environments and these influences, you just find it much, much quicker.
Yep.
So I think I forgot even what I'm exhausted. I forgot what the original question.
I think you answered mine as well. But I wanted to ask you something else. You said you're not much of a confabulation kind of guy, right? So
yeah.
So what is your process into thinking and for a show without a confabulation? Like, do you start from the end and go towards the beginning, or how does it go?
So one show that I did at the Edinburgh Festival was I had a member of the audience. So one year at the Edinburgh Festival, I had snake venom, and I would get injected with snake venom every night. And one member of the audience would go out and they would hide within 10 minutes walking of the theatre. And they got a 10-minute head start with the antidote. That
seems scary.
So they would then have the head start, and my pulse would be slowing down and stuff on stage. And then when we got to the 10-minute mark, well, it was like 6-minute head start, and then we started going outside, because then we had to gather outside for 4 minutes till it. basically 400 people or 400 or 500 people every night following me through the streets of Edinburgh to find the antidote and find the person to get the cure, essentially. So really it was about a number of things there. It was about taking it out the theater and making it real. It was about going, right, I don't want to end with a prediction. I still want to end with mind reading. How can I make this play huge? How can I do something that's never been done before? And it was about combining all of that, finding that moment, and and trust it. This is the thing, if you're going to do these new things, you're going to take risks, and they're not always all going to pay off. The first time I did that during a test show, there were problems, but that's okay. As long as you know what the problems are, you know what they are, why they happened, and how to fix them, then fine. It's okay. You're going to come up against things, but just get into the attitude of fixing it. Like the number of times I'm in the car driving back from the Mirage with things that have happened, and I've gone, what could I have said to that guy in that moment when he said that? I know I said this and it got a laugh, but what would have been funnier or more impressive? And I love thinking about hindsight, because I know that I didn't say it there, but there will be a time in the future where I need my brain to make that connection again. And it's then the answer will be there and it's ready, waiting. So, I think being able to think about this stuff, it's called in a Dan Kennedy marketing book, The Positive Power of Negative Preparation. And if you can visualize your entire show, the way I do it is I visualize my routine in my head, first of all, going perfectly, so that I'm, comfortable with the idea of what I'm trying to achieve. Then I go back to the start, and then I imagine every single thing going wrong from the beginning all the way through to the end. And I come up with the answer to fixing it before it happens, so that I'm ready and I'm prepared. And I think by doing that, by mentally rehearsing, because we as mentalists cannot sit and practice the moves. We need to mentally prepare for the situation. I think it's totally doable. So so hopefully that answers your
answers my question. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Colin.
Thanks for tuning in, dude. Really appreciate it, man. Take care.
Thank you, man. Thank you. You too.
And right, I'm going to quickly look through the comments, and then we have a few other people still on video. So again, keep. I think this is important, and this should absolutely be on the screen. In fact, not only will we leave it on the screen, but for anyone wondering what the book looks like, this is this book is just, it's a no-brainer. Like if you're going to read anything next when we're doing it, like in this period, this is the freaking book to be reading. I'm glad, because I always worry when I do stuff like this. I try and answer questions where I'm answering the question, but also opening it up to everyone to try and not only be specific, but just give this to everyone. So I'm glad things like this. This genuinely means a lot, because this is your time, and I want you guys to get out of this whatever you want. So please, the link first of all to come back in before I bring anyone else in, because we can spend another, how long has it been? Another 15-20 minutes before I need to run. But if this is on the link in the event page, the way StreamYard works, it wouldn't let us put this in the actual event. That's why it was on the main page. But if you type that currently into Chrome, because Safari is so out of date still, Chrome or Firefox on StreamYard, it will come up and it will let you come into chat face to face. Or if you're just watching this and you want to ask any questions in the comments, if you have things that I haven't covered yet that you want me to answer, I am trying to skim through and I'm trying to read as well as answering questions face to face. But if there's something I have missed, please type it again, just so that it comes back up at the bottom. And I am trying to tie in questions I'm reading with the answers as well, where I can see they're crossing over. So I'm doing my best to tie that together. But let me bring in Martin, who has been sitting from the very beginning. Hello, Martin. Hello. Martin.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. I'm enjoying the broadcast very, very much. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm glad. Thank you for your time, sir. I really appreciate it. So, where in the world are you tuning in from?
I'm tuning in from the Swiss Alps, Switzerland.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. You lucky boy. Yeah. Well, very nice. So, ask away. What would you like to know about, or say, or go for it?
I also just recently took advantage of the package you were offering.
Thank you.
I already looked at it a bit, and I enjoy it very much. I have watched you actually since your start from your DVDs when you did your broadcast, your shows back in England, in the UK still. So I've been watching you all along, and I'm fascinated by how your character developed from the beginning when you started out till now, till I recently saw you in the US. And so I'm very much impressed by it.
Oh, thank you.
By this transformation and by this development.
Yeah, I mean, even my appearance, you know, I decided I wanted to get fitter. I wanted to be funnier. I wanted to be, you know, doing routines that were stripped back and more pure. But that was all, you know, people are like, how did you do it? And it's not like how I did it. That's not the secret. Everyone knows how to lose weight. Everyone knows how to get fit. The why is completely different, because I think until your reasons for doing something outweigh the reasons for not doing it, then you're never going to have the motivation. So until you find your reasoning for, you know, why it is you want to do this thing, it's never going to happen. So, you know, everyone's sitting right now thinking they know what they want to do. The truth is, we all know how to do it, but now it's about giving yourself a shake or a kick up the ass to go start doing these things, trying these things, failing at these things, then improving at these things and trying again. And, you know, we do. The first time I got on a treadmill, for example, I ran for 1.5 minutes and I had never been sweatier or more out of breath in my life. It was, you know, I was like, well, I'm never doing that again. And I realized you need to just ease yourself into it, and you run for 40 seconds at a time, and then you stop for 20 seconds, then you run for 40 and you stop for 20, and you build up your strength for doing that thing. And it's no different to writing. You know, if you're going to sit and try and write for 2 hours a day, then maybe to start with, that's too much. Maybe try writing for 15 minutes a day. And maybe you'll think of something and go, oh, I don't have the answer yet. But I guarantee later at night, before you go to sleep, right there in bed, it's going to come to you, and you'll start writing notes, and you'll be up until 4 in the morning, you know. But, you know, don't force yourself immediately to have all the answers. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is give yourself the opportunity to at least try and find them and ease into it. And that's all I've done. I've just decided I want to have these specific goals achieved. I know how to do them, or I know roughly how to do them, and I'll learn the rest on the way. It's about finding the why, and when you find the why you want to do it, that will be the thing that pushes you to go make it happen.
Right, right. And also you have to have defined the consistency of doing something and staying and sticking with it, which I also find can be even harder than doing it, you know, just to keep on doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you mean with regards to like until you get to where you want to be, but yeah, I mean, I think building up that tolerance is one. But even now with things like the routines, the material that I do on stage, you know, I remember at one point doing a routine a few years ago every night, part of it was involving guessing someone's drawing that they'd done. And I remember after like 2 years of doing that routine, feeling really, really bored of it. And I think that's the moment I realized, wait, now I'm bored of it because I know it so well. And that was the moment where I realized I was thinking about like what I wanted to do later that night on like, or et cetera, et cetera. My brain was so free. But when I realized I'm not thinking about the trick, wait, let me talk about this event and this room and these people and this is happening. And I realized that every show is now different. Mm-hmm. And every show changes because the audience change. And I'm talking about the people. The tricks are they're just like the freaking the window to what's happening. But we look through it, and the people are the real show, you know. And I really love now tying in as much of what's really happening as possible. And that's, you know, it just comes from like, again, running on the treadmill. You do enough that you're able to, and it's just a case of deciding you want to, and then you go make it happen.
Right. Now, what in this context, I'm doing parlor shows mostly, and some close-up and some stroll magic, and I do like to mix classic magic. I'm a very big fan of all the classics you can do, like cups and balls, rings, and so on, but also some mentalism now, What is your view on this? There is always some debate going on whether this is good to mix in a show or not good to mix. What is your personal view?
Yeah, I think if people wasted less time debating this shit and actually went out and just were amazing, then I think the magic world would be in a much better place. I think, like, who cares? Like, I do a show with Shin Lim, and in that show, I do a magic trick, and it's made to look not like a magic trick. If Sherlock Holmes could do cups and balls, which I imagine Arthur Conan Doyle would have had it that he could have. If Sherlock Holmes could have done that, I would go out and learn it. If that was in the literature, I would go learn it just to be able to show that I have that side. I think when we stop caring about the tricks and we start focusing on you as a person and how you make people feel and how you connect with them, number one should be amazing. Don't think about, okay, well, really, the unwritten rules that no one's ever said have to exist say that you can't do, mind reading with floating this. Screw that. Like, if someone once said, the people that break the rules are the people that become famous or respected is a better word. I don't like the word fame. I prefer the word respected. Like David Blaine, he broke all the rules and he became huge because he was like so different. Like, and he's someone who's doing mentalism and magic. Here's the thing though, it's not about what you do. It's very much about like, what are the audience being led to believe you as a person are capable of doing? Mm-hmm. And if you're this individual who has this wealth of knowledge of the history of magic, then yeah, I believe that being able to read minds is part of that history of magic. So yeah, go do it. Like my best friend, David Gerard, does some of the best Q&A mind reading in the world. And then within that, does his take on some of the classics of magic better than, I could ever have imagined anyone doing them. So see, as long as you're doing this stuff really well and it's amazing and people love being in your presence and being a part of this experience, then that should be the focus. It shouldn't be the, I'm doing coin in hand tonight, so I can't do chop cut. Like, screw that. Like, if you do both of those things amazingly well, then go do those things amazingly well and show your audience like an amazing show that's unlike anyone else. And as long as you know the purpose of you as a character and why you love doing those things combined, then listen, I find it hilarious that people have spent more time discussing any card at any number than performing any card, and like stuff like that is just hilarious. I just think talk less, go out and do it for real people, see how it plays, come back and report the results. Don't report the speculation.
Yeah,
because I'm sorry, but the results prove people don't care. Sometimes on my page where it says Colin Cloud Forensic Mind Reader, people post and say, you're my favorite magician on the planet. And I'm like, I don't really say I'm a magician. See now, I don't really care. See, as long as you think as long as you think the time you have with me is amazing and the experience we create together, it's not that I'm amazing, it's that what we build together is an amazing event, unlike anything you've ever experienced before, then I don't care what you call it magic. I mean, I'm big on, for the right reasons, people not thinking it's psychic or like supernatural in that sense. I want people to think that it's a skill. That's all I really want. But yeah, I just think, I'm trying to think if I've done any like out and out magic routines in any show just to kind of clarify any points. There's none that are jumping to mind. I did a version of French Kiss once, not with the cards, but Wayne Houchin teaches how to do it with a notepad. And I had someone write down their email address, and I wrote down my email address, and I did it as a pickpocketing routine because Sherlock Holmes can pickpocket. And I did it as that because the method and the presentation fit the Sherlock character, so it was a great way of doing that. So no, listen, I think, number one, stop focusing on what other people think and start focusing on just being the most amazing you can possibly be. And at that point, like, we'll start all doing our best work. We'll all, up our game, and yeah, magic will just be in a better place.
Right. Thank you very much for your insights. Yes. Mm-hmm.
No, good. I'm interested. Do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that?
No. Actually, I also think if I can have the impact and the connection to the audience, then I really don't care if it's a magic trick or mentalism, as long as it fits into the general theme of the show.
Yeah,
and what I like to convey to the audience and so on, then I just use whatever I have.
As long as it fits the story you're telling and it fits your own purpose in your head of what you love doing, then yeah, like leave everyone else to sit and debate. Simple, done.
Right, exactly. Yes.
Good question, Martin. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Much love.
Thank you.
Speak soon. Bye-bye, sir. Goodbye. Right, I'm going to quickly still video for a second. So I'm just going to say, what makes a good opener? I think the opener really is trick is you on stage and the mood that you set for what you like to see. I'm not sure if people are on stage and they stand in silence for like 30 seconds looking over a hoop. And it gets really awkward. And I'm looking at the start speaking. And it's walking very still and very calm. Because I'm sure what folks are going to go on stage, people look over everyone again. So like that was the opening trick. The opening is that they just like respond based on what they just witnessed. Like the reaction to that. But I think the opener needs to be like you said, like across the field, on stage, and go straight into the first trick. Unless if you're like established theory, or pretty opposite saying, you'll be amazing by doing anything else you want to say. I think there's a kind of rule, right? The person that breaks that rule is the person so I don't want to say like one way or another. Like one of my favorite openers of all time is the thing I do for Rumble. That whole thing, it could be anything. It could be anything. Like really wants to look at the computer and it goes like yes, you can do it. Like you might ask people that it's like that. And now I feel like you can do really interesting different things to do with the effect as well as the effect and like you just do it because it's engaging. Again, if you're watching this and you've not got it yet, still has, I want to make sure that everyone watching this takes away from this that is the into what is meant to be portraits of someone else, not very question illusions, everyone illusions, I think number one, you need to not do illusions and stick that in the illusions and mentalism. Amazing. Be the guy that does that. But people from one to the other. Illusions and being generic. Scott, we're going to talk later, but Scott, can you hear me clearly just now? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, now I can hear you. Yes.
Could you hear me a second ago, or did the sound go crazy?
It just went wonky completely. It was just kind of fading in and out. No, I wasn't getting really anything at all.
Okay, perfect. I can just I want this to be like consistent. If this at any point fails, just start doing that at the bottom, and I'll see you at the bottom. Okay.
Okay, so right now it's good.
Yeah, perfect. I'll speak to you in a minute properly. Okay. Thanks. Mentalism is all about engaging people, obviously. So naturally, if you're doing illusions where you're not talking to people, I suggest to get out there and get used to like interacting with people with no props, nothing to hide behind, and really start, getting comfortable with that. So I think that's the biggest piece of advice really to begin with is that, or ease into it. When you do the illusions, talk more before you do them. So maybe do less illusions in your course of your show, but like talk more to the audience and just transition into it. It's not like a harsh, having to adapt really big. I'm just trying to find questions here as well before I bring Caleb and Scott into the, yeah, someone's saying it's working now. Now it works. Okay, sound. But my hand gestures were fine. Okay, perfect. Right, so we're back. Perfect. Okay, so let me bring in. I'm going to save Scott to the end because Scott knows me fairly well, and I think Scott's going to be fun to end on because he'll tell you some juicy stuff. So, Caleb, hello, sir.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you? I'm a huge fan, man. I really admire your work. Thanks so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That means a lot, genuinely. Really does, man. So where in the world are you tuning in from?
I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I think I've been there. Yeah.
Well, I was speaking with you about this psych artist like a week ago through email. It's been great.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, like I said, this week has just been busy because of like online shows and stuff, and then like Chloe's birthday. So like it's been a bit crazy, but I love like writing the essays and trying to put that out there and just like give back to as much as I can to get people inspired. And so yeah, that means a lot.
So great. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you for your time. I got a quick question. So I've been studying a lot of what you've been doing, and I saw, you know, obviously with your tour with the Illusionists, everybody kind of has like a little like stage name slogan. So with like the Deductionists, you know, and I saw that you mentioned a while back Drew McAdam, and about how he plays his stuff so real, and I see that kind of similarity between the two of you.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if you could go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's a Scottish thing.
Is it? I wonder if you could speak to playing the performance as real, and like if you ever break the illusion for the audience, how do you answer questions during, you know, talk spots on talk shows to not break that illusion? Because I know you break it with us, but how do you go about that without not being a liar for your whole life? You know.
Yeah. Well, I never directly say that what I'm doing is certain things. I say my background is in criminal profiling, which it is. That's also like me saying this morning for breakfast I ate a sandwich. Let me read some minds. It's like at no point am I directly saying one is the other. I mean, I get that I am heavily alluding to it, and it makes sense that then people are like, well, it must be that. My background genuinely is that, and there is a tiny like. I do genuinely read the audience with regards to who I bring on stage. I know instinctively now by looking at someone's character, their mannerisms, who is going to be good on stage. So in that respect, when people are like, so you're reading the audience, I'm like, yeah, do you know what? There is an element of truth there. I'm not telling you where. I would say to a journalist, you know, I'm not telling you exactly where I'm doing what or when I'm doing it, but throughout the show, I'm reading the audience. I'm using a bunch of psychological and mentalism techniques to make it look like the closest thing to real mind reading. Like, there's no point in, if you out and out lie about all of this, if you really go hard, if you wanted to really go hard on the fact that, yeah, this is real, like, sorry, at some point, someone's going to come along and go, no, by the way, it's not, you've taken it too far, here's what like, this stuff's already good enough that you can just, there's a balance, I find there is a balance. Like one time I was asked to, I was making a TV show at one point a few years ago, and they really wanted me to be able to explain the psychology behind everything I was doing. And I was like, well, you get that some of this is not psychology. You get that some of this is mentalism. And they're like, what's that? And I'm like, that's magic. And they're like, no, magic's pulling a rabbit out of a hat. And I'm like, no. Mentalism is the branch of magic where it still feels like that, but it's not that. And they're like, well, can you teach mentalism? I'm like, no, I am not going to be the asshole that goes on TV and exposes mentalism. Absolutely not. And they were like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm not teaching you that. They were like, well, can you just teach us the psychology of all the psychology? And I'm like, I mean, we could, but it's not going to be as entertaining as all the stuff that they see me do. They're like, I don't get it. I was like, well, do you want me to just float and then teach the science on that? And the woman genuinely went, could you do that? And I leaned in and looked at her and went, no. And it was just like, people just, I get it, right? It is, this stuff it still looks like the type of magic that could be real. And there is enough psychology in what I'm doing with regards to the stuff that, you know, Banachek helped, you know, pioneer with regards to the subtleties. There's enough of that going on where it's just like, it can't not be this, you know? So I get it. Here's what I do. When I'm on stage, I will gladly make it feel as real as I can, because that is a theater, that is a stage. You are sitting as an audience member witnessing something happen. When I come off stage, if you ask me to do something, I will politely decline, or ultimately I will blatantly refuse. Simple as that, because I just want to keep it on the stage. And that's how I now have chosen to differentiate. When I come off stage, I don't do it anymore. That's it. I now keep it. I don't like spell that out. I don't say, you know, I'm Clark Kent and, you know, my kryptonite is anything that's not a stage. It's not that I'm saying that. It's basically I've just made the decision now. When I come off stage, I don't want to keep doing it. Not unless, you know, we're at a bar and like people who are like really into it really want to see something. And I'm like, well, okay. But as soon as I've just done the show in the Mirage, I'm not going to come off stage and continue being the guy who knows everything all the time. I stay in that persona and that character, but I just don't read any minds when I come off stage. And I feel like that's my disclaimer. That's not a disclaimer. That I always loved Paul Vihill's line where he says, wait, people have a disclaimer. And Paul's like, wait, you think you're good enough to need a disclaimer? Like, that's hilarious, right? So I just think, I think focus on being as amazing and as entertaining, and what entertaining means to you. Like, it can be being funny. It can be being meaningful or sentimental or, you know, impactful or empowering, but be amazing, be entertaining. And I think the rest, worry about the rest as it happens. But until you start focusing on, like, too many people, like I said, about wasting time discussing stuff rather than doing it, like discussing, should we do magic and mentalism? And then people are like, wait, should I have a disclaimer? Right. Wait until you're at a place where you're, you know, ready to earn needing a disclaimer, and then decide whether or not you're going to. I think that that's important. Just be amazing. You know, if you're going to lace in the psychology stuff, like I lace in more of the observation stuff and the deduction stuff. You know, like I know one from one of our last shows, a woman came on stage. I love telling people what they had to eat earlier in the day. One woman had like powder, a handprint powder mark on her thigh. I told her about the pizza that she was eating before she came there. And that was the perfect visual, you know, thing, because people see the handprint of the powder, the pizza slice up in her hand, stone-baked pizza, boom, done. And it's like, oh my God, people see the process of me being able to deduce these things about people. Now, it's harder than the psychology often, because psychology is at least an invisible lie where you can just be like, so the deduction is like, I need to make all these visual connections, and it's like harder, but I love now that challenge. And like I said, when I'm on stage, I am not thinking about the method or the story or the jokes. I am now focusing on what's really happening here that I can tie all this together with. So that's like now my thing. And I let people make their own decision in their own head. Yeah.
Sure. I guess a lot of my work is in close-up environment, and like, I don't want to, not to brag or anything. It's just that certain effects, you know, are just that strong. Yeah. And so they get people, if you don't give any explanation, you just do stuff like Osterlund says. They get people challenge, like, is that like demonic or what is this? And then I have, like, at that point to make a decision, like, no, I don't want to say I'm demonic. It's just an entertainment. But I'm wondering if I cut that off
to start with and be like, what do you think it is? And then let them answer it and be like, this and this and this. And you just like, that's so interesting that you think that. People usually say it's this and this and this, and talk about what other people say and talk about what they're feeling, and just be like, but listen, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. And as long as, I think it was Christopher Carter, it was either Christopher Carter or Craig Carges on Conversations with Mind Readers, the CDs that were out years ago. One of the two said, my job is to, he says at the end, when people say, how do you, like, is that, what was that? And his response is, well, one, did you have a good time? And they're like, yes. Secondly, did I get you to challenge the way that you think? Yes. Then that's enough. You know, and it's just like, cool. And if your job close up is to just be this amazing guy, like the fact that you're good enough that people think that you're demonic, I mean, I think it is slightly that hair flick and the fact that you've got this red glow on your face. I mean, that's probably it, right? But
no, I'm not saying I'm that good. I'm just saying I think it happens. I think some people are just in that mind frame.
Magic should be that good, right? It shouldn't be, you know, like, now deal 3 cards and then spell this, and then it shouldn't be. It should be stuff that, again, I've seen like people like Azzy do stuff like that, and Doug McKenzie, and it's the best thing ever. So like, yeah, but yeah, I think it's great that you're getting that type of reaction. I think turn it on people and be like, what do you think it is? And just like, so interesting. And like, try, like, just gather the information of what they think, why they think it, and feed it back to them. And like, if you don't want to label it, just be a listener and ask more questions and be like, and why do you think that? Okay, and like, have you seen anything like that before? Where else? Like, I was watching the masterclass. I forget the guy's name now. I dipped my toe in the water with it, all to do with negotiation the other day. I started when I'm on the treadmill. I watch
Chris Falls?
Yes. So every day when I'm on the treadmill, I watch a masterclass. Half one day, usually half the second day. And I was watching that, and just I think he's got some great points on this. If you wanted to avoid having to like overtly disclaim or proclaim something, then yeah, I think, you know, I just think, yeah, it's great that your stuff is that amazing, and I really hope that everyone else, you know, starts getting to the place where people are freaking out that much, and just, you know, and if you're, I don't know your character when you perform, but like if it's like this now and just like calm and controlled, and it's just, you're just like, you know, this is just what I've, you know, I've spent years learning how to do this, and it's the closest thing I believe to real magic, you know.
Yeah, honestly, it's just when I sprinkle it, a lot of the stuff I do is like Aussie type stuff, honestly.
Yeah.
But when I sprinkle in, like I said, it's that and mentalism. When I use mentalism, it just seems like some people are just maybe in that mindset where they say, "What is this like? What is this kind of stuff?"
Yeah.
And so I was just wondering if I could cut that off at the head and come at it from if you come at it from a psychological perspective and say that's what I do, then I think it puts people in a different mindset. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I see what you're saying too. That's cool.
Yeah, no, I think it's great, and I just think, yeah, again, I've said it 3 times now, but I love that your magic is strong enough that you get that type of reaction, and yeah, maybe just say that you are the devil.
Well, hey, we got a whole bunch of guys here in North Carolina.
Listen, thanks for tuning
Really
in.
love you, so thanks so much.
Stay safe. Bye bye. Let me just quickly go through another couple of questions. There's someone here called Gra who's been here for a while, and they've only got their audio, so I'm going to bring them on. If they have an audio question, like they don't want to show their camera, that's fine. Your mic is muted, Gra, so I'm going to bring you in for a second. And if you want to turn your mic on and ask me a question as I quickly skim through some of the other things here. Again, glad that this is the general vibe here, and anything else, I'm glad that sounds okay. I saw someone say that the close-up, the introduction, the opener effect thing, Gra's not there, that's okay. The opener is like on stage, it's me and the vibe that I give when I'm on stage and what I want to create with that opener. It should be something interesting, easily understood, and for me, utterly engaging of everyone in the room. Visual magic does that inherently, but for me, it's like, how can I involve as many people as I can? And that's why, like, the envelope thing on one of the downloads has got my routine there, and I teach that. But really, it can be any routine. And my challenge was to like find something that people would normally end with and open with it, or what would people normally never perform, and how would that be a good routine? Never mind an opener. And I love thinking about stuff that way and just like making it my own. So let me bring in Emil here. Hello. Your microphone is muted. So if you want to chat, just hit the unmute button, and then we can. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
2 seconds. See if the video is on. No, it's not. Yeah. Hey.
There we go. Hello, sir. How are you?
Good.
Great.
So I just tuned in, so I haven't been following it.
Cool. Listen, dude, we've been waiting for you, like literally 1 hour 40 minutes. We did nothing. We're like, when's he showing up? And now you're here, so now we can start.
Yeah. Yeah, I was busy, but sure.
How can
what we've been talking about? What are we talking about right now?
What are we talking about right now? Are you a magician or a mentalist, or are you just?
Yeah, mentalism, and I perform like I manipulate with people.
Nice.
Making people do stuff.
Pause. I have never had anyone show up to one of these before and be like, "Hey, so what's all this about? What's happening?" You're like the guy that just walked into the wrong room at an event, and you're like, "Oh no, wrong room," and then you're leaving again, but you're staying. You're committing. You're the guy that walks into the wrong room and stays because the buffet looks amazing. Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad you're here. So I'm basically, hi, I'm Colin, titles down below. And basically I am answering questions about anything you would love to ask about mentalism.
Okay, sure. I'm trying to get good at cold reading. And it's kind of hard to make the hard hitters where you blow people away with it. But I'm start to learn how to use the language so it doesn't have to be so vague. a week in your presentation.
Are you,
but if
you
have
using
any
coaching?
pointers for that?
Yeah, are you one-on-one with people, or is this with on stage?
It's on stage where I have one coming up, and I will perform with them and try to get some extra into the routines I already do.
Of course, whenever I've done any type of cold reading like that, I have always had the backbone of real information that I'm able to also reveal, and I've used the cold reading to add on and be an extra. So I will be honest and say the cold reading isn't my area of expertise. However, I spent a weekend years ago doing the Ian Rowland cold reading course, and I think that the best advice, like I gleaned from him, is that it's all about getting people to engage with you, to warm to you, and for you to be empathetic, likable, and not confrontational. Because the more people are literally there with you and buying into what it is you're doing, and it's like a snowball effect. If you start with the hard-hitting real information, then as you continue, then people are going to be more inclined to believe and make the connections and be able to relate to what it is you're saying about them. So I think a big part of it is the confidence and the comfort of being on that stage and making it feel like, you know, you are that guy. They're there for this reason. They start seeing that you can do it, and as you continue, they'll be more and more into it, and they'll find these connections.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, maybe sometimes I will hit it. Right now I'm working on a routine with Winnie the Pooh.
Oh wow!
Where I get people to think of one of the main characters, and then come with the plot twist. There's some theory about all the characters.
Oh
that,
yeah.
In real life, it's mental.
Do you know this
different problems of mental illnesses?
Yeah. So if you don't mind me saying, this is actually really interesting, and that is that the author of Winnie the Pooh, whose name now completely escapes me, but I just read this article as well, and it's really actually quite interesting. They talk about that Winnie the Pooh characters were actually written about different areas of mental illness and understanding the mind. And, you know, like Eeyore is actually a representation of someone who is depressed, and Piglet being bipolar and stuff. And it's actually brilliant, and it's well worth people that are into this stuff. It's what you're talking about is actually amazing. And I did look at this, even though the name of the Winnie the Pooh writer escapes me annoyingly. But yeah, it's out there. Type this in, search for it. I mean, as far as just understanding human nature, it's amazing. But yeah, as a performance idea, then yeah, I think it sounds to me like the stuff that you want to do is like going to be very real, very hard hitting, very raw. And I think there needs to just be I don't do anything that's that intense with people. So I think it's just a case of AA mail. There it is. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sure.
Someone can work Google better than me. Yeah, it's a case of being very careful and considerate with that type of stuff, because it is real, it's relevant, people are interested in it, and I think, you know, with the right positioning, you can have real positive impact with that stuff if that's the way you want to go.
I don't use it as a dark moment or something. I use it as a funny plot.
That way. Yeah, I think. But
first of all, it's kind of ridiculous for grown-ups to work in that theme. So that's kind of a light mood to do it with, and then just as a plot twist after the reveal, I say something like, you know, this theory, and it's really funny. You're thinking about depression, but I won't go into that.
Yeah,
I have performed it once in a bar where some guy ended up with the piglet. I don't know what it's called in English. And then suddenly he just starts to spill his guts about no one in his family wants to be the piglet of the group, and so on. A lot of information come from that, and it was just like, it's funny to think about him.
Yeah.
And then he just starts to spill his guts.
It's great. I mean, this stuff is very real for people, and people love talking about themselves and feeling understood. That is the big thing, right? People love feeling understood, and stuff like this that is very real, and people can latch onto it. Yeah, but I mean, stuff like that. Yeah, I know I said I misunderstood exactly how you were using it, but yeah, I mean, stuff like this for a comedy hook done right, is amazing. So yeah, that makes complete sense. But listen, I've got 5 more people I'm going to chat to. Thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it. And I will let you get back to the rest of your joint. Okay. Take care. Peace.
You too.
That was very unexpected, but there we go. A few other people have joined the chat, so I need to wrap this up in like 10 minutes because I am taking my wife for her birthday brunch. But let's try and get through as many people as we can. Renzo, good morning, afternoon, evening, sir. How are you? Oh, I don't think we can hear you. Your mic's dead. Is your mic on? Renzo. Can't hear you. I'll come back to you, Renzo. I'll give you 2 minutes and we'll come back to you. Shane. Shane.
Can you hear me?
Hey, Shane. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I am wonderful, sir. What can I answer for you today?
So I have a question about what do you think is the next thing in mentalism, whether that be a character, whether that be a specific skill set, whether that be a style of show. It's just something that I've been thinking about. I've done this for a number of years now, and went professional a couple of years ago, mainly in the corporate world, very much interested in the theater side of things and four-walling shows. But it's just a question that I've asked other mentalists and gotten their thoughts on it. So I wanted your thoughts on that. So
strip it right down to the core. You're asking what you think the next big thing in mentalism will be.
Yeah, what is the next standout thing? You know, when you think of yourself and, you know, the Darren Browns of the world, even going back to David Blaine, all of these people have like a specific thing that made them stand out from the rest. And so, you know, the
specific thing that I think makes people stand out from the rest is that they are so different to what's already there. Because if we get another exactly the same as a David Blaine, it's not going to work because he's already taken that path. That path is closed. So unfortunately, the question that you're asking of me is the question that we're all really asking. You know, well, it depends what you're trying to achieve, right? If you want to just be on stage touring with illusionists, here's what you do. You go out and you do 200 shows of 3 routines that last 8 minutes each, and you get your ass kicked with those routines until you do them after 200 shows where they cannot fail, where every line gets a laugh. Every laugh is interesting. Someone's just saying they lost me, so let me just, can you still hear me okay, Shane?
I can, yes.
Yeah. Every line's a laugh. It's interesting. Every moment is visual. Everything engages everyone. Everything plays big. If you can do, 200 shows and get 20 of those on video to show the producers at the Illusionist, and every one of them is great, and you've thought about your look, how you come across to the audience, your character. If you've nailed all of that, then the Illusionist will pay attention. They'll bring you in. They'll chat with you. And they'll at least try you out on one of their shorter runs if your stuff is good enough. And this is like, if that's what you're trying to achieve, then that's what you do. If you want a TV show, if that's your goal, and for me, it's not about having for me, none of this is about being famous. Like I said earlier, respect for me is way more important than fame. Like being respected for doing something. But some people want to be famous. Cool, whatever. If you want to be famous, then you better go out and find, 1,000 good tricks that you can do on Instagram that no one's ever seen before, that aren't double cross, that aren't invisible deck, that aren't, all the things that come out from Sans Mind's quick trick visual thing every other week. It needs to be, you need, 100 things that no one's seen before so that you now stand out because all the other ones have now been done. So it's about being different, and it depends on your goal. If it's fame, there are routes to get people to pay attention now. We've all got social media. You need to work whatever it is, you're going to have to work your ass off in some way. People, where did I see this? Steve Martin says it on his masterclass, be so good that they can't ignore you. And being that good takes time, energy, sweat. It takes constructive feedback from friends who are phoning to give you that constructive feedback right now. It takes all of this. It takes you taking it all on board, listening to it, doing something about it, and just constantly kicking your own ass for the right reasons until you're where you want to be. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
The next big thing in mentalism is the thing that no one's going to expect. That's it. So go be that thing. Simple. Yeah. But listen, thank you for tuning in. Much love, dudes. Right. Let me bring in these last. Let me try. I hate it having to leave Renzo there. Let me bring in Renzo quickly. Renzo, hello. Still cannot hear you, Renzo. So Renzo, type your question. Renzo, type your question into the private chat that you now have access to, okay? Type it in there so that I definitely see it and I will answer it immediately. But until then, let me bring in the wonderful one and only Mr. Scott Wells. When I find your face, there it is.
All right.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Good day, whatever time of the day it is. Hello, Colin. Good to see you, my friend.
And I take it you know why you're here. You know this is a chat. You get, yeah, because some people have been confused. Yeah.
Hey, what am I doing in this room? Where am I?
Yeah. What's happening here? Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing just excellent. Thank you very much. Keeping very well and keeping busy with my podcast. You know, fortunately, everybody has been home, so I've been able to contact people and say, you know, if you got anything else planned, they said, nope. So let's chat. So it's I got a lot of stuff in the can. Get ready for future weeks. But
wait,
you know,
you only tuned into this to try and recruit me for your own podcast. Is that what? No, I'm joking.
I do want to have you on there. I've had David Berglis and everybody else, you know, of course, on there over the years. And so would I don't know why I haven't chatted with you about this. I think I may have some years ago just in passing. But anyhow, I just need to have a proper one.
Yeah. So what do you want to ask or share that?
Yeah, sure. It has to do with powers, you know, a description of powers. And that was something that Bob Cassidy, our friend, had always talked about, and having something that was very important. And I think that you've identified this perfectly by having a great character that you've developed as kind of the Sherlock Holmes, you know, kind of a thing. And that is a completely unique kind of a thing. And I think it's important that mentalists identify what it is that they have as their powers. So this way of whether that is going to be telekinesis, whether, you know, you can bend things, move things with your mind, you're able to, you know, tell the future, or you know, different kinds of things. So anyhow, I just think that your journey, the way that you have finally found your personality, your person, your powers, I guess, it's very clear, because when people leave the theater, they know exactly what it is that you have done. You know, it's like, well, that is almost believable also, but then you take it to another step. It's like, well, that was just unbelievable. How could he possibly have known that? So I just wanted to applaud you, I guess, for developing something that I think that others should seriously consider.
Well, no, thank you, first of all, for the kind words. But yeah, I think when you have that character, it just, when people leave the theater, they feel like they're leaving having witnessed a story and something actually play out. There's drilling in the background because we have construction workers in, and I promised I'd be done by 11:30. So, but I'm like, I'll talk for, you know, forever. But no, I do feel like, I'll move it closer. I do feel like, sorry. It's actually just Chloe brushing her teeth. It's a very rigorous electric toothbrush she has.
Be sure to tell her happy birthday for me, by the way.
I will. No, I genuinely, I know I push this, like, and I'm saying it more than ever now, but I just feel like this, you know, knowing who you are, knowing what you want the audience to think and feel, and ultimately what it is you're trying to leave them with is just so, that's the real power. that's what really elevates people, you know? And, you know, David Blaine did it with, you know, the live stunts and giving that experience. And with me, it's like trying to, it's like trying to just tie it all together in a way where, like, I'm not trying to be Sherlock Holmes on stage. I use Sherlock Holmes' powers as like the lead for my powers. But, you know, when I'm on stage, I'm me, and I'm very much an extension of me. When I come off stage, like, people are like, when do you, the power side, the lay people ask, do you switch it off, right? We know the answer to that. But the performer side, I'm never really burned out, because I'm never on stage, I'm just, you know, an accentuated version of who I really am. It's not like I'm trying to be a character. Like Nigel mentioned earlier, Rob Zabrecki, and Rob on stage is phenomenal. Like, that presence is just like, you know, what is this? And I also believe that part of that, you know, Rob knows what he's doing and Rob turns it on. But I also believe, like, part of that is just a part of Rob that's just wonderful, and just this, I don't know.
The character is powerful.
Oh yeah, it is. But the reason he's powerful is that character is defined. That character knows who he is. And as a result of that, everything makes sense on that. Like, I just feel like if you just walk up to people and the first thing you do is bring out sponge balls and like hold a stack of cards, and, you know, I just feel like you're missing an opportunity to really make, you know, in the moment you'll be like the best thing those people have ever seen. Like, those screaming moments will be great, but to have like lasting impact, when the time and the place are right, I just feel like we're capable of doing it. And I feel like, we shouldn't shoot ourselves down from the opportunity of sharing that before we get to, just the trick for the sake of the trick. If you're only doing it for the wow moment and the wow moment and the wow, then do you know what? Then yeah, in a loud cocktail environment, when the odds are against you, then I get it that you need to be, doing stuff like that. I get it. But I also believe in those moments that they can still feel, as we spoke with Caleb earlier, that those moments can still get to a place where they still feel really powerful. They shouldn't feel like a novelty. They shouldn't feel throwaway. They should still be allowed to feel like real, powerful magic moments. And I feel like regardless of where you are, that the stuff we focus on shouldn't be the conversations of what is and isn't right to do in magic. What should I or not I be saying? The truth is we should be spending more time writing the stuff, going out, trying it, and then reflecting on real life experience as opposed to guessing.
Yeah, I understand. What I'm saying, though, also is that it's important, I believe, to have it mix up a little bit. In other words, that within your character, you can have different kinds of powers, I guess. I recall some years ago, a long time ago, of doing a mentalism show, and afterwards I was talking with a friend. They said this was just one prediction effect after another one. I mean, it was a different way of predicting things, whether it was a chair effect or someone holding an envelope or a deck of cards, and that was, whatever it was. And I started thinking, it's like, yeah, I guess, well, my power was I have the ability to predict, but that wasn't really what I was going for. But it really made me stop and think about trying to design a show that would be including other kinds of things and actually have a character rather than doing, one prediction effect after another.
I think it's a case of being like, I never wanted to be a Swiss Army knife. I'm not saying that I want that. I want to feel like the Sherlock Holmes, and I love having that detective nature in everything that I do.
And everybody understands that too. They can relate to that.
Exactly. But then, if your character of choice is, freaking Willy Wonka, and it's like, or Doctor Who, or, whatever it is, it's like, as long as you don't try and be the character, but like use that as inspiration as a starting point of what would that character do there, and then what can I take from that? Then, yeah, I think having a defined skill set is important, yes, but I think a defined character and understanding of what you're capable of is more crucial. Is the bigger thing. So, you see a lot of mentalism shows or magic shows where there's like 100 different skills presented. And you know what? If people are expecting a varied magic show, then yes. But if you're trying to convince people that you, as this person, as this character, are able to do this stuff, then I think that needs to be a bit more defined. Like, at no point could I break into midway through deducing things about someone, like to then start doing Haunted Key at that point wouldn't suit me as much as I love Haunted Key. It's like there would be a time and a place to do it with the right context, framing, story, narrative, and purpose. But I don't think throwing it in there is, so I think consideration as to what you're trying to get them to believe is important. And, it's paid off for me. So I can only tell people what I know has worked, but also encourage you to do your own thing with it so that it will also work for you to be as successful as possible. So you're not just treading in the exact same steps.
Well, again, congratulations. And it's always good to talk with you. I feel more than a friend that you're one of my boys. My wife always considered you as a ruddy-cheeked boy, or our son.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, love to you, sir. We'll catch up properly after that. Well, okay. Cheers. Thank you for coming in. I'm going to start wrapping up here. I mean, I'm on 1% on my laptop, so if this dies, I am really sorry. But first of all, 2 hours, right? And it just seems to fly in. I really hope at some point in this, there was something that you've got as takeaway, and I really appreciate the fact that you've spent 2 hours of your life when there's so much streaming stuff out there. I've tried to cover everything that I would want to be listening to myself if I were you. And beyond this, people have asked about psych artists. I've tried to not talk about it. Other people kindly have. But if you're interested, then you can go to psych-artist.com and you can find out about the releases that I've just put out over there. And also, I'm trying to get my contact information to come up on the screen. It should pop up in a second, I'm hoping. But if not, then my email address is also on that website. You can email me questions there. I'll do my best to answer them. Or social media, Instagram, etc., or just in the comments here. I'll skim through this after. If I missed anything, I will respond to you. This will be on YouTube for a few days after this, so everyone gets a chance to watch it as well. But that's been 2 hours. Someone said, are you taking your Wi-Fi